We are back on the weekly chat with Jason Mackey. This is our Pirates segment airing on the Pirates Post-Gazette YouTube channel. Excited to get into predictions for the season. When this is airing, it's going to be opening day morning, Christmas morning for baseball fans. So we're going to get Jason's thoughts on what record he thinks the Pirates will have, who some of the standouts will be. Before we do, just want to thank our sponsor for this episode of the podcast. It's Greenwalt Roofing. Hey, Pittsburgh, when you think of great roofs, you think of Greenwalt Roofing Company. With over 20 years of experience, Greenwalt knows your roof is your home's first line of defense from rain, wind, snow, and ice. That's why Greenwalt Roofing's standard for perfection is so important. You can trust that their team of experienced installers will treat you properly, like it's their own. When it comes to roof replacements, Greenwalt Roofing is Pittsburgh's only choice. Visit greenwaltroofing.com today and call 412-314-8882 to schedule your free estimate. PA contractor number 36262. All right, Jason, let's not beat around the bush. How many wins for the Pirates this season and why?
162, because that's how many games they play, Adam. No, I'm going to go 84, which is still higher than I think a lot of people would say. I think the over-under in Vegas is 76. I do think the Pirates are going to be better than a lot of people think. I think the offense is going to be better than a lot of people think. I wrote that for Wednesday. Matt Haig has made a positive impression on a lot of guys, but I don't think they get into the playoffs. I think they fall just short. I think we do see signs of progress. I think they're carried a lot by their starting pitching. I think we're going to see a lot of young guys come up and contribute. That's going to be the identity of the team. But I do think they're going to surprise some people. I think it's going to be a really fun summer on the North Shore. I think Paul Skenes is going to be outstanding, but 84-78 is my final record prediction. Third in the NL Central.
You're the good cop. I am going to remain the bad cop. I'm going to predict 73 wins. I don't believe in this lineup at all, Jason. I don't believe in Matt Haig coming in and fixing it. I generally believe that if you keep things the same, you're getting worse. Listen, the National League knows how to attack these guys, attack these hitters. I don't think that they figured that out overnight. And you look at, I think they got some good news with Jared Jones, possibly avoiding surgery, maybe being back sooner than people hope. But he's still going to miss, 6 weeks here before he's even throwing.
He's going to miss more than that, Adam. Before he's throwing again, yeah.
Yeah, before he's even throwing again. So by the time he's back, it's going to be at least 2 months. Maybe you're talking mid-season. So you're going to have Paul Skenes. You're going to have Mitch Keller. And I think that's a good foundation to start with, but you're going to have other guys in that rotation prove themselves, maybe a bit more than they have in the past, or for the first time, if it's, a Thomas Harrington or a Bubba Chandler coming up at some point. But I just look back at some of those games last season, Jason, where Paul Skenes pitched really well and they still lost the games that he started because they couldn't score enough runs. I haven't seen anything to change that perspective. I think someone said, I saw on social media saying, well, what happens if you can win 24 of Paul Skenes starts and that's your foundation? I don't think they're going to do that. I think they might struggle to just be a little bit better than 500 because I think they're going to have some of those stinker nights where he does something really cool and the offense lets him down. So I guess I'll give you a chance to shoot me down there a little bit more.
I'm not going to shoot you down. I mean, I'm going to be realistic about where the Pirates are. And if they wanted to inspire more public confidence, they could have done more this offseason to fix the lineup. I will do what I've done throughout my time covering them, is try to be a bit of an intermediary using personal experience. I will say, from being down there for a week, it was a very popular topic of conversation how much different hitters feel with this current group. I didn't think the Pirates did a very good job of getting enough out of individual hitters. I think they tried to sort of boilerplate things and make them all have the same approach. And guys don't have that right now. Exhibit A is Jack Sawinski. I said at the end of last season, they need to have him stop thinking so darn much and just go out there and compete. And that's exactly what they've done. He's not thinking about, specific counts. He's seeing the ball and hitting it. And he's probably going to strike out a little bit, but he also hit 370 in spring. There's some power there. Again, I'm not saying it's going to work out. My point is that it's not automatically doomed because they didn't change anything. I think they changed a lot just under the surface, how guys are coached, what's going into their head. And all throughout their lineup, they have guys who have had positive offensive seasons in the past. Bryan Hayes, if he's healthy, can be a reliable offensive contributor. I realize that's not relative to the hitting coach, not Brian Hayes, but Isaiah Kiner-Falefa, the guy next to him in the infield, has hit at various points. Did not hit last year, but he can produce at the bat. Nick Gonzalez, I still think there's more in there. I don't think he's really an issue. Sawinski's a big one for me. Endy Rodriguez being healthy. There's a history of production in the minor leagues there. They need to get it to translate. Anyway, I mean, I'm not looking for this offense to be top 10, Adam. I just need them to be like 16th, 17th, something like that. And I think the pitching and, even their bullpen, I feel better about their bullpen. I think that's going to be enough to avoid 73 wins. Watch, the reality will be, I don't know, between 73 and 84 somewhere. That's where they'll finish. 74.
Let me ask you let's just play out the 84 scenario though, Jason. Let's say that you're right and that these things work out to some level and they have a winning season. Where do you think that will stack up in the National League when you look at some of these teams that they'll be competing with? Is this going to be a 1997 situation where they're in it, to the final days of the season and then just miss out, in your opinion? Or are they going to be like kind of it was last season where, the playoff teams were all winning around 90 games. And, if you're not in that cohort, we know, for most of that second half of the season that you're still just a cut above and probably not going to make the postseason. How do you see that race shaking out?
I still think they're going to be in it. I think it's going to be somewhat relevant down the stretch. I don't see them as like the 11, 12 teams where they sprint out to this hot start and then tank. I wouldn't call last year a hot start, but it was at least meaningful baseball through 110 games. I think they'll be able to sustain it a little bit better than that one. How I see the NL Central shaking out, I know enough to bet against the Brewers at this point. I think they're going to be there, either winning the division or second. I'm very curious / it wouldn't shock me whatsoever if the Cincinnati Reds were all of a sudden very good. I think there's a good core there. I like a lot of their young players and even the pitching staff. There's some Hunter Green and et al. The Reds have a lot of talent that I don't think they've fully put together yet. So if it ended up being Milwaukee and then Cincinnati and then Pittsburgh, maybe Pittsburgh and the Cubs fighting in there, wouldn't shock me. Somebody's going to have to go in the tank because I do think it's kind of like the mushy middle of Major League Baseball divisions. I mean, nobody's too good, nobody's too bad. Somebody's going to have to finish at the bottom. Maybe it becomes the Cardinals. I don't know. That would surprise me a little bit. And the Cubs have spent a lot of money to stink that much. So I think somebody will probably be set by injuries. I hope it's not the Pirates. It would make for a more entertaining time. But the two teams I'm most curious about at this point are the Brewers and the Reds.
Jason, there were some roster moves we got ahead of opening day. Wanted to get your thoughts on specifically. Let's start with Carmen Mlodzinski getting the fifth starter spot in that rotation. Thomas Harrington going down. Was that the right decision? And how do you view taking a guy who we did not go to spring training? He was not in the conversation. They converted him to a starter this spring, and now he's going to be in the rotation compared to some of these other guys that they have coming up. What are your thoughts there?
Yeah, I don't have any problem with them going with Mlodzinski. If nothing else, Mlodzinski does have some major league experience, certainly not as a starter. I'm not turning the page on the Pirates, opening for him or something like that. You Brian Borucki through the first inning or two, and then Mlodzinski takes over. I don't know. But I could see that. If Harrington needs a little bit more time in AAA, that's fine. I think Bubba Chandler needed a little bit more time in AAA. I'm fine with that. You're not really forcing anything. Yes, it's the safe bet. But with Jared Jones' injury, Johan Oviedo on the shelf, I'm fine with going with the guy with the most major league experience. At this point, you're not upending your roster in any way. I guess you could accuse them of maybe making the safe move. But, that's also saying that Carmen Mlodzinski's been a bad pitcher. He hasn't been. We haven't seen him as a starter at this level, but I think Carmen deserves the opportunity to do it. He wants to do it. He's pitched well when healthy as a middle reliever and even as an occasional back-end reliever. I'm curious to see it. It looked okay in spring. I don't want to say it was, lights out where you say you have to put this guy in your starting rotation, but am I willing to give him a chance to start the season? Sure, I'm fine with that.
Jason, the guy you were high on during spring training, Henry Davis, ends up starting in AAA. Endy Rodriguez gets the call to the big club as the second catcher. There's been a little working out at first base. Your thoughts on how that situation ended up playing out?
Yeah, I mean, it's disappointing that Henry wasn't better. He looked really good early on. I had a good chat with him when I went down there, and maybe I was the problem because he didn't hit again.
But that was a week. That was only a week ago, right? Am I wrong?
I March 8th through the 15th is when I got down.
Okay, fair enough.
If you look at his splits from beginning of spring till about March 8th, and then from March 8th through the end, they're stark. But anyway, I mean, Endy was the better hitter. It was the better option. So they took the better player. That's what it should be in every discussion all the time. And I don't have a problem. I've seen the Pirates criticized for this, and I disagree with it, on how they handled the Endy Rodriguez first base situation. Now, I said, I don't understand why Endy Rodriguez isn't playing first base. What are we doing here? But then Shelton came out and I thought gave a pretty insightful answer saying, look, we wanted him to concentrate on catching. We thought it would be unfair to him to have to worry about both of these things. We know he can play first base. We'll get him there. We need him to concentrate on catching and give him the best chance possible to earn that backup job. And Endy did it. And now at this point, you're saying we've got to take a guy who's played this position in the past and now in short order get him ready to play first base at the major league level. It's not ideal, but I understand why they did it. I don't know what's going to happen with Henry Davis, Adam. That's an awkward scenario where you've got a 1-1 pick in 2021. Here we are, opening day 2025, and he's in AAA. Like, I think Bob Dylan.
He was a college player. It's not like
he's a college player. I know.
Like a Connor Griffin situation.
Yeah, I think Bob Dylan is saying it's not dark yet, but it's getting there. That's kind of where I'm at.
Yeah, we'll look forward to seeing how that plays out. Jason, what spring storyline do you think is going to be the most durable? Ji-Hwan Bae kind of hit like crazy, fought his way into this conversation. You mentioned Jack Sawinski at the top when we were talking. Is he the guy that you think can take a positive spring and translate it? Not just, and listen, we've seen him hit in spurts, especially early in seasons, come out of the gate strong, and then he has proven not to be able to adjust to what other teams are doing to him. And he has these terrible late season swoons. Do you think he's done enough, not just to hit in April and May, but make it last for 6 months, which is what we really have never seen from him?
Well, you asked me which storyline is most durable. I'm going with Paul Skenes being really good, Adam, and being a leader for this team. Is that not a cop-out? I guess it is. Crap. No,
you're good. I think that's. I mean, I think it's relevant that he had his first, full professional, spring and looked good. But
I can do better than that. I do believe in Sawinski. I do. I was talking about guys earlier. Well, I talked about Jack. People who were kind of wrapped around the axle. Jack just looks a lot different, free, easy. I think he can maintain it. I'm not saying he's going to be a perfect player, an 800 OPS guy, flawless in the lineup every day. No. But can he be a contributing member to this team down the stretch? Sure. Absolutely. I think he can. You know what else I'm curious about? We haven't talked about this at all. And I don't know if this fits your question about, durable storylines, but remember not long ago, we were talking about Oneil Cruz kind of growing into like a freakish athlete and this incredible player and all that stuff. Like that's received like zero discussion this spring, or very little, about like what upside he has. And I don't know. I'm just sitting here curious thinking Oneil Cruz can still be really good. His physical tools have not diminished. If anything, he's gotten healthier. I'm just really curious what he's going to be able to do.
Yeah, I think, with Oneil Cruz, it's not that I think he's going to be a bad player or anything like that. I just question if he's more of a Starling Marte, where he's always going to tantalize you with the tools. And Starling Marte honestly was one of the best Pirates of my lifetime. Yeah. But I think a lot of people look back at him and say he didn't live up to what the expectation was. And I think with Oneil Cruz, the expectations were even higher than that. I think people looked at Oneil Cruz and said, this guy is a full-blown superstar. He's going to be, mashing 40 home runs. He's going to be doing these crazy things, and you're going to know about him on a baseball-wide level. I don't think he's that player, and I think that's what's on trial this season is he a superstar, or is he just a good player who's going to maybe play 10, 12 years in Major League Baseball, but he's never going to be kind of what people hoped he would be.
I looked this up as you were talking, Adam, because I was just genuinely curious. This is crazy to me. Marte between 13 and 16 accumulated 19.2 wins above replacement, according to Baseball Reference. 797 OPS plus, or 797 OPS, 119 OPS plus. Man, I'll take that for Oneil Cruz. Where do I sign? That would be tremendous. I don't know about accumulating value different ways, but
I don't know that people don't remember Marte that way. And if you told me that, if I told you that I'm guaranteeing that over the next 3 years, Oneil Cruz is going to have a 797 OPS, would that be, in line with, maybe you had, different expectations of the fan base, but I think a lot of people thought he'd be one of those top 5 players in baseball. And I don't see that coming from him.
Yeah. I mean, the 797 OPS doesn't sit as well with me because you're talking about a different defensive player. Like in there, Starling Marte won 2 Gold Gloves. He was a clearly better defensive outfielder than Oneil Cruz will be this season and maybe ever. I don't know. So I probably need more than a 797 OPS. I want to look at the home run total. I would prefer that the OPS be in the 800s. I don't know, man. I think Oneil Cruz can be like a 5-6 WAR player, which would almost be doubling what he was last year. And I don't think that's a crazy thing to think, but I mean, we go through their lineup and think about guys who, has this guy reached anywhere near his potential? Has this guy reached anywhere near his potential? Has this guy reached his potential? You've got a full season of Paul Skenes. You've got young pitching. Yes, I understand they haven't added, but there are other stuff in the forest of where the Pirates need to improve that can happen.
Jason, I'll get you out of here on this. What's the significance of not hearing from Bob Nutting this spring? We usually hear from him in the spring. You're usually the guy talking to him. We heard from him last
summer. I wasn't
summer.
there. That's why. No, I'm kidding.
No, well, why wasn't he there? I think we heard from him last summer when things were going well and him saying he expected to contend for playoff berths. He's conspicuously quiet so far. Do you read anything into that in terms of his faith in the team? Is he kind of taking a wait and see where he doesn't want to come based on what Ben Cherington and Derek Shelton have produced? Does he just not want to commit to those guys, one way or the other and make them prove it this season?
Yeah. And what I said earlier was I was not there. Bob was there.
Yeah.
He usually is. And people don't want to hear that, but he is around a lot. I don't know. I can't decipher Bob Nutting's thinking. I'm not going to try. He's always quirky with when he talks, how he talks. It still wouldn't shock me, honestly, Adam, and I'm not saying this from something that I'm expecting or planning for. It's just from knowing the Pirates, that if he was randomly available on the home opener, talk like the morning of the home opener to talk about everything. I'm just saying it wouldn't shock me. I don't think it is being afraid of saying something with Cherington and Shelton. I will say this about Bob and the feel around the organization. I think there's a very strong urgency to win right now. And if they don't do that, it wouldn't shock me again if there are repercussions from that. Bob wants to win. Shelton wants to win. Cherington wants to win. Anything less than that is, I think, unacceptable. I don't totally understand why they kept the band together this offseason. I mean, what I heard and understand is they feel like it's closer to competing, closer to the end goal if they keep them versus if they blow it up. I think there's probably a little bit of not fear, but hesitancy to look like they're restarting a 5-year plan when they feel like they are closer, be it because of COVID or even stuff that they screwed up last year. They should have won more games. And sorry, I'm going to wrap this up in a second.
No, you're good.
I don't want a diatribe here. But I look at that 10-game stretch last year, Adam, and if that 10-game stretch goes differently, if the Pirates are better with fundamentals, this, that, and the other, this is a team that last year should have won 84 games. And so I think that's the prism that the Pirates are looking at this through and saying, look, if we do things better, last year should have been an 84-win season. And then, we should be able to take that step to 89 wins or something this year. No, they're behind schedule, and that's why I'm picking them to win 84 games. I think last year was costly, and I think there's just depth issues and stuff that they haven't gotten all the way there with. But I think that's the thinking. If I had to, sort of interpret what I know and based on past precedent, that sort of thing. I don't think it's weird that Bob hasn't talked. I mean, not any more strange than it usually is. He's not Art that's going to talk after every season. It wouldn't surprise me again if he randomly talked out of nowhere. But I don't think he's hiding from anything if that's the way, some people think.
Yeah, I think the frustrating thing for me is that it's I think it's a false choice between keeping this thing going and completely blowing it up and going with another 5-year plan. That was my core criticism of this group to begin with, was intentionally wasting 5 years of everyone's lives and saying that guarantees that they're going to come out of it and be, what they were in 2013 to 15. I think there's enough examples in baseball history how it does not always work to tank. And I think the Pirates are becoming one of those examples, which is why I think I would have liked to see a change and bring someone in here as a steward of keeping this thing going in the right direction, making some necessary changes with development and getting more out of this group that you spent 5 years building up.
What would you change, Adam? I'm not disagreeing with you. I'm just curious, like you're saying change. Would you change GM and manager?
Yeah, I would change general manager first, to be honest with you. And if you wanted to give Derek Shelton another year, I'd be willing to listen to that. But then again, that's part and parcel with, maybe the development goals. And maybe you can't do that unless you wholesale change. I just reject the notion that even if they had done this past offseason, that would have necessarily meant blowing the whole thing up and saying, we're going to start over, we're going to start stripping assets, and we're going to be bad for 5 years. I don't think that's necessary. I don't know that works enough times. I mean, we've seen it work with the Astros and the Cubs and at different points, but it's been several years, Jason, since those teams were winning World Series. So are we really trying to make 2017, 2018, 2019, 2016 with the Cubs? Is that still the model? Should that still be the model? I don't know. So that would be my question, is why do you feel like if you move on from Ben Cherington and Derek Shelton that it necessarily means, the end of times again?
Fair. I mean, I get you. I understand people's way of looking at it, and there's going to be skepticism until they break through and win. So I don't know if I have anything to add to that beyond I understand. It would be nice for all of these discussions to end and we can talk about 13, 14, 15 and team building and those sort of storylines. I think we're all sort of ready for it. It should happen. I guess I'll just end on this. Like, I didn't have any problem with them blowing things up the way they did. I didn't have any problem with the tanking or the building toward this, accumulating draft picks. I'm largely in the camp of you can win in a small market if you make a bunch of smart decisions. I understand the people that question whether they've made the smartest decisions. Their trade free agent history in the recent past has not been great. I still think they have enough talent here to win if they can develop it, if they can deploy it properly. So I don't know. Maybe that's a seeing all fields kind of approach that I shouldn't have, but they could have done some things better, but I don't think they're altogether screwed.
No, Jason, I think you're good at you see the things up close and the smaller picture, and something that, like, I don't go to the stadium. I haven't been there very much at all. So I'm kind of taking the big picture, outside perspective. I think you got a little bit more of the inside perspective, and that's what makes these conversations fun for me. Yeah. But I know you got a plane to catch, Jason. So thanks for stopping by this week. We'll have some games to talk about next week. Looking forward to all of that. Let's
go.
So enjoy the trip, Jason. Everyone else, if you enjoyed this video, please pop a like on it. Help us out in the YouTube algorithm. Please subscribe to the Pirates YouTube channel. We're on that final climb towards 1,000 subscribers since we launched before spring training. So thanks for joining us on the ride. If you haven't already, please do. And we will talk to you again next week.
Thank you for checking out this content from Post-Gazette Sports. If you watch this video on YouTube, please like the video and subscribe to our channel. For all of the sports coverage the Post-Gazette has to offer, visit post-gazette.com.